All right, let's jump in. Today, we're tackling the last project in the TempoSense ecosystem. But honestly, it's also the most fundamental one, the Taste and Consciousness Research Institute. So, right off the bat, we're hit with this paradox, right? How can something be the final project, number 10, but also the starting point? Well, stick with me, because the answer to that question pretty much unlocks the entire logic of the TempoSense platform. You see, the source material is super clear on this. This isn't just another project on the list. No way. It's the central nervous system, the theoretical core from which everything else, I'm talking education, AI, content, the whole shebang, it all originates from here. So you're probably wondering, what does this institute actually do? The key thing to get your head around is that we're talking about a massive shift away from traditional food science. This isn't about figuring out better recipes, it's about a whole new field called taste intelligence. And this little chart just nails the difference. Over on the left, you've got your standard food research, right? It's focused on the what, the ingredients, the chemistry. But look to the right. Taste intelligence research is all about the how. How do we humans actually experience taste? How do we perceive it, talk about it, and then, crucially, how do we turn that very personal experience into useful industrial data? Okay, so how do they actually pull that off? How do you turn a feeling into data? Well, their whole research model is built on 5 core pillars, and it shows you this clear pathway from a sensation in your mouth to a real-world application. It's such a logical progression when you see it laid out like this. It all starts with the raw physical feeling on your tongue. That's sense research. Then it moves into perception, how your brain actually processes all that. From there, it becomes language, something we can share. Then it gets structured into a measurable evaluation. And finally, boom, it's turned into data that an AI can actually analyze. Now, here's the kicker. These 5 pillars aren't just 5 separate research projects. Not at all. They're designed to lock together and form one single, really powerful system. It's the blueprint that the entire TempoSense brand is built on. And here it is, the central model. You can think of it like an assembly line. It takes this deeply personal thing, a sensory experience, and systematically converts it into a structured, valuable asset for industry. It takes a feeling, turns it into a sentence, then into an evaluation, then data, gets crunched by AI, and is finally put to work in the real world. So, this is the point you've got to remember. This institute isn't some quiet academic wing tucked away in a corner. It's the factory floor. It is actively producing the foundational science, the shared language, and the structured data that every single one of the other businesses in the ecosystem completely depends on. And this whole system wasn't just dreamed up overnight. It's the result of reorganizing a massive, solid foundation built on 17 books, all about what the source material calls taste knowledge. This quote from the source just says it all, doesn't it? It's not some think tank for spitballing random ideas. It's a central hub designed to take decades of accumulated knowledge and give it structure, to make it applicable. That's what gives it such a solid, unshakable foundation. So the big question is, why? Why does all this matter? Where is this whole train heading? Well, the Institute's vision goes way, way beyond just research papers and labs. It's aimed squarely at changing the real world. You see, the research here has a crystal clear purpose. Every single discovery, every insight, is meant to be immediately applied across the rest of the TempoSense ecosystem. Nothing gets left on the shelf to collect dust. And right here, you can see that pipeline in action. The Institute's work directly feeds into training programs for gourmets, it powers the AI systems, it creates the foundation for new kinds of entertainment, and it totally informs food development in the industry. It's literally the bridge between deep philosophy and practical commerce. Now, this is where things get really ambitious. The ultimate goal here is to elevate taste from just being a simple, personal preference into a full-on civilizational movement. You start with taste, that becomes structured knowledge, which then builds a shared culture. And that culture is what fuels a whole new industry. Okay, this brings us to our last question, and it might be the most profound one. Why didn't they just call it the Taste Research Institute? Why is that word consciousness so absolutely essential to what they're doing? And the answer is just, wow. It's because this institute is studying something so much deeper than a simple chemical reaction. It's investigating how a physical sense becomes a human perception, how it connects to our memories, our emotions, our focus. It explores how that perception then grows into culture and industry. That whole journey, well, that's an act of consciousness. And that brings us right back to the beginning. The Taste and Consciousness Research Institute is the bedrock. It's the fundamental anchor that makes sure the other 9 businesses don't just drift away. It produces the very science, the language, and the data they all need to exist. So you see, it's not just the end of the list. It is and always was the beginning of everything.